Another E3 passes and another year of games we won't be able to play until 2017.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Oh, fucking hell. And then there's Nintendo. Oh, Christ almighty. I can't believe how fucking dumb that fucking thing was. I mean, when I first saw the puppets, I knew it was just going to go downhill right from there.
Me too.
And I was right. The minute I saw the puppets and, Reggie doing his little puppet, Nintendo 62, Nintendo 63, and 64, yeah, I was just like, I facepalmed. In fact, I didn't even watch the rest of the freaking announcement thing. I just closed it out and decided to rant online like everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, the whole puppet thing, it was pretty much cringeworthy. Well, the interesting thing about this year's Nintendo presentation is that so far I've seen like a dozen different internet articles praising Nintendo and saying that they've basically taken E3 by storm this year, and that just like the mythical phoenix, they've managed to rise from the ashes and restore themselves to their former glory. But in reality, I gotta be honest, it's just more of the same shit.
Yep. And of course, then they announced Star Fox, big fucking deal.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. And another Star Fox.
Who the hell wants that, right?
Yeah, once again, it's just another insert already existing Nintendo property here. I mean, for fuck's sake, Nintendo, how many more times?
Yeah, when are they gonna make F-Zero? Jesus Christ.
Exactly. That's what we've been asking all this time, for another F-Zero game.
All right. I think it's been about, a minute and 30 seconds? I think we can come clean now.
Sure, why not?
All right, so what you guys have just been exposed to is our own little social experiment, where we basically want to see how many downvotes we can get from knee-jerk reactions on our blatantly and over-the-top Nintendo criticisms in this first minute and a half.
Well, never mind the first minute. I'm sure that just based on the title of this video alone, we've already received like at least half a dozen dislikes.
Oh yeah, just right from the get-go. Without even listening to it, it's going to be downvote this shit. And again, I mean, it's going to be the same thing as my puppet reaction that I was bitching about, where you see the first 20 seconds of it, and it's like, this is bullshit, I'm going to turn it off and bitch online.
Probably.
Oh, fuck. To be honest, though, while we're pointing our fingers and making fun of all the knee-jerk reaction people in the comment section already, we actually have a couple of things to both praise Nintendo for this E3 and to, again, point our fingers at and criticize.
Yes, offer constructive criticism, with constructive being the operative word here.
Yeah, not that Nintendo's listening to any of this shit, obviously, otherwise they might have gotten their ass in gear years ago.
Yes.
It'd be us as puppets up there. Puppets of Nintendo. Reggie's hand up our asses.
Yes.
Oh, God. Well, first of all, I gotta say that I am sitting here with two old Nintendo Power issues that I collected back in 1992 and 1991. And I'm looking at this E3, and I am looking at these two issues of Nintendo Power that are basically talking up and hyping up what's coming out for the Super Nintendo, back when that was the next console and the next thing coming up. And I am both slightly appreciative to Nintendo, and I am also quite repelled by their current announcements. Max, do you have the exact numbers for how many new Nintendo Wii U games were announced?
Okay, so to be objective here, Nintendo has announced some new interesting games for both the Wii U and the 3DS, which is good, because that's what we've been asking this entire time, for Nintendo to focus more on their software as opposed to their hardware. I don't care about the Wii U, I don't care about the gamepad, and more importantly, I do not care about their next upcoming console, the NX, because the fact that they're already trying to hype that one up, or the fact that they're trying to drum up excitement and hype for that console, kind of has me concerned, because it's like, well, what about the Wii U? Why are you already jumping ship? But anyways, so in preparation for this recording, I have found this article on IGN, and I will put a link to this article in the description box so you can check it out for yourself, and you can see whether or not my numbers are accurate. But basically, like I said, in preparation for this discussion, I have decided to do some research. I have decided to find some numbers, some concrete data, as far as how many games are being released for each individual console. And what I did was I found this table on IGN.com and I copy pasted it into a word processor and I searched for each individual console to see just how many games are being released for, say, the Wii U or the PS4 or the Xbox One. Anyway, so first I'm going to tell you the total amount of games that is being released, which includes both exclusives and multi-platform stuff.
What do you mean? Which amount of games that were announced at E3, right?
Yeah, just to clarify, this list may be slightly out of date because, according to IGN, this list contains both games likely to appear at E3 2015 that have been previously announced by a developer or publisher, and games that have already been confirmed. So anyways, according to my research, right now, the total amount of games announced for the Wii U is 15 titles. The total amount of games that have been announced for the PS4, 88 titles.
Holy shit.
And last but not least, the total amount of games announced for the Xbox One, 62.
Ooh.
Yeah, obviously Nintendo is not in the lead here. That would be the PS4. Now let's take a look at exclusive titles. And once again, this list is slightly out of date. It does not account for some of the games that have been announced during the actual E3 presentation, but still, proportion-wise, this is still accurate. So, anyways, let's start with Nintendo. As far as exclusives go, so far, Nintendo has 6 exclusive titles coming out for the Wii U and 2 exclusive titles coming out for the 3DS.
Okay.
Now, as far as Sony goes, you have 11 exclusives for the PS4 and 2 for the PS Vita. And finally, as far as Microsoft goes, well, Microsoft is kind of lacking in exclusive titles because they only have 3 exclusives. But, objectively speaking, first of all, as far as exclusives goes, Sony is once again in the lead because they have 11 exclusive titles for the PS4 as opposed to Nintendo's 6.
Right.
But this is sort of the larger overarching problem that I have with Nintendo these days. Objectively, if I were a potential gamer who was thinking of investing into this generation of consoles, and if I were to look at each console individually and analyze them from a cost-benefit perspective, I would have to say that the PS4 is the undisputed champion right now because they have the largest amount of exclusives, but they also have the largest amount of games available on that platform all across the board. Now, as far as Microsoft goes, Microsoft fucking sucks as far as exclusives go.
Yes.
Because
and we're going to give Nintendo a little pat on the head and say, good job, you beat Microsoft on this one. Credit where credit is due.
Yeah, but the problem is Microsoft still has those 62 titles.
Yes.
They're multi-platform, mind you, but still, if you buy an Xbox, you will still have access to a larger number of games as opposed to if you were to buy a Wii U, in which case for the next year and a half you're only gonna get roughly 15 games to play.
Mm-hmm. So what's a gamer supposed to do? They're supposed to buy a PC and get Steam and you get 50,000 games right out of the box.
Well, yes, but that would make too much sense. You gotta remember that we, despite the fact that this is 2015, we're still living in an era where people are fighting over which console is better and whatnot, and you gotta be either Team Nintendo or Team Sony or Team Microsoft.
But Max, this is E3. It's not supposed to make sense. Just look at the puppets.
Yes, what the hell am I talking about?
But here's the thing: is Nintendo announced about 7 games for the Wii U.
Yes.
This E3: Star Fox Zero, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, Yoshi's Woolly World, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, and Super Mario Maker. And consequently, for the 3DS, a console that is actually doing very, very well, we have to give Nintendo another pat on the head and say, good job, you've basically dominated the handheld market.
Yes.
Well, it depends on if you count mobile devices or not, but I guess we'll just say, they're the only ones of the big 3 making handheld devices. Oh no, sorry, I keep forgetting about the PSP Vita. I think everybody else has too, though.
Well, that's the thing. You said they're the only ones out of the big 3, but it's really just, Sony and Nintendo who are fighting for the handheld market. The Xbox doesn't even have.
As long as you don't count smartphones, because then, Droid and
well,
Apple
that's
Store
a whole
two different things.
Yeah.
But for a 3DS, which is apparently selling well enough to keep Nintendo certainly afloat, they have announced Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, Hyrule Warriors, Legends, Metroid Prime Hunters, which doesn't look like a Metroid game, but fuck it. Fire Emblem Fates, Shin Megami Tensei, I hope I didn't butcher that too bad, X Fire Emblem, Animal Crossing, and Yokai Watch.
Whatever that is meant to be, yes.
If you didn't see the trailer, it's something I couldn't give a shit about. It's too Japanese for my tastes, sorry. But the personal tastes don't matter. It's all about the numbers, right?
Yeah, it's nice to see that Nintendo has this great lineup coming up for the 3DS, but this almost seems to be a problem because I've seen this Wired magazine article that kind of almost perfectly mirrors my sentiments, and it is an article by Chris Collar, and the title is Nintendo has lots for 3DS, not so much for the Wii U. And it's nice to see that Nintendo is developing games for their handheld device, which I think is the main reason why the 3DS is dominating the market as opposed to the PS Vita, because the 3DS actually has an array of great games. Some of which are games that you can also get on the Wii U, like the 3D, like the latest Super Smash Bros. Game. But here's the problem, children. If you look at the lineup of games for the 3DS, it has much more titles appealing to me because you have a new Zelda game, you have Hyrule Warriors, which from what I understand is kind of like a port of the Wii U title, but still, you have Metroid, you have Fire Emblem, which is like a first or maybe like a second party Nintendo IP, you have Animal Crossing and fuck Yokai Watch, whatever that is meant to be, but still, you've got Zelda, you got Hyrule Warriors, you got Metroid, you got Fire Emblem, all solid franchises that most Nintendo fans would want to play, or even outsiders who are looking into investing some time into Nintendo and getting and familiarizing themselves with their first party titles. Now, if you take a look at the Wii U, on the other hand, Star Fox, great, but again, the 3DS had already had a Star Fox game before, which was an HD remake of the Star Fox 64 game. Xenoblade Chronicles looks promising. Once again, a bit too Japanese for my taste. Lots of mechs, lots of angst, but whatever. Animal Crossing.
Teenage angst in mechs. If it's not some emo teenager or preteen in a frickin' giant robot trying to save the world, it's not Japanese.
Yeah, it's not pure enough for all those weeaboos and whatnot. But anyway, so Animal Crossing, once again, a solid Nintendo title. But again, the 3DS has already had an Animal Crossing game even before the Wii U got one. Yoshi's World, again, a solid title. But the last three games on that list are pretty much, just more disposable Mario games. Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, Mario Tennis, and Mario Maker. It's like, it does not it simply does not compare with what the 3DS has to offer for the next year and a half.
Right. Now, I'm going to give Nintendo a lot of credit for spending the effort to make Star Fox, even though it looks suspiciously, several levels in the new Star Fox Zero games look suspiciously like the Nintendo 64 first Corneria level.
Yes, and to be fair, if we are gonna dispense credit should be given to both Nintendo and Platinum Games, because they're making this game in conjunction. This isn't just Nintendo, finally getting its head out of their asses. It's Platinum Games giving them a boost.
The outsourcing, Japan's outsourcing.
Yes, Platinum Games are making Platinum Games are making the new Star Fox game in a fucking sweatshop because Nintendo couldn't be arsed.
But I mean, it's still, they created Star Fox, so they created a new Star Fox, which is what they've been hearing for the last 2 or 3 E3s, and they've even gone as far as making a Robot Chicken skit about it, self-deprecatorily. But the fact that they actually decided, hey, you know what, we better actually make a game that people want, was kind of nice. The Mario Maker game, the more I see of it, the more interested I actually am of it. But again, it kind of falls into this little trap with like RPG makers. It's like, wow, you spend all this time and all this effort making your own RPG, and now the problem is trying to find somebody to play it. So, granted, I mean, it might have like the online capabilities, like Little Big Planet, fine and dandy. There could be some pretty interesting stuff coming out of Mario Maker. I won't knock this one much, except for the fact that Nintendo spent almost too much time at the conference talking about Mario Maker. Too fucking much time. Mario Paper Jam, actually, it looks really interesting if it's a co-op game because of the way you have to, like, you know, switch between like 3D Mario and Paper Mario to get, you know, explore level. Could be good. I don't know yet, so we'll figure it out. The return of the Nintendo Championships is something that I really want to talk about. I think this is a great PR move and easy way to get exposure for games. Being a child of the 90s, this is very, very nostalgic. It's a really, really fun way to return to form for Nintendo. Unlike the LetsSuperMario program, which basically encourages you, for once, to do stuff like make Mario cakes and make Nintendo videos, not using their Nintendo footage, obviously, but you're free to, you know, make your own piano remix of the Mario theme, or, you know, play it on maracas, or play it on a fucking accordion, or whatever the fuck they showed in the thing.
Yes, basically Nintendo encourages you to worship your Lord and Savior Mario.
Yes, this is where it's coming down to what I would consider nostalgia leeching.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, you know, Mario's been around for 30 years, and I imagine that you have some really fond memories of Mario. And I do. I was here since the 89 release of Nintendo. I still remember the first 3 Nintendo games I ever played were Contra, Ikari Warriors, and Mario.
Yeah.
So I've been a Nintendo fan for ages. Because, again, I still have 2 Nintendo Power issues sitting right here on my fucking lap that I'm going to be referencing very, very shortly. I've been a Nintendo fan up until Nintendo 64 kind of fucked things over. And then I went over to PlayStation and never really looked back at Nintendo, even though I'm not a PlayStation guy anymore. Anyways, to get back to the point, they're banking on 30-year-old nostalgia. They show kids with Mario hats, and they show a guy dressed as Mario jumping into a pool, and Mario has affected us all, and you love Mario, and show the world how much you love Mario. Worship it! Worship it!
To pay, the fact that they're forcing people to pay tribute to
No, they're not forcing. Not forcing. They're encouraging people to pay tribute to an idol. And I'm not gonna get on a religious rant here. I'm not. But to me, it's just sick consumerism.
Well, it reeks of megalomania. I mean, to quote Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails fame, bow down before the one you serve, you're going to get what you deserve. That's what I'm getting out of this entire thing.
A Goomba in your pipe.
Yes.
But it's blatant nostalgia whoring. I mean, okay, let's do a thought experiment on this real quick, right? We're not gonna bash Nintendo in this one exactly. Imagine McDonald's makes a campaign, and they're like, well, you guys remember when you were kids, you used to eat Happy Meals, right? Remember Ronald McDonald? Wasn't he such a big part of your childhood? You know, I know you're trying to eat healthy now, and, you know, our food isn't exactly the best out there at the moment, but really, you know, you should go out and just, you know, eat a burger. Eat a Big Mac. I mean, you know, just to relive that nostalgia, you know, because, you know, you owe it to us for that childhood memory that you cherish so fondly. You know, you really should. You should buy some McDonald's for your kids too. You know, I mean, you should dress your kids up like Ronald McDonald and post it so it goes viral. This is disgusting. Again, this is nostalgia leeching. This is a. It reminds me of the the New York Police. The New York Police Twitter campaign, My New York PD.
Okay.
Where the intent of the drive was to get people to take pictures with themselves and New York police to show support for the police. And then the trolls got a hold of it, right? And they sent all these pictures of the New York police beating the shit out of old men. Police riots and the Occupy Wall Street thing turned out to be one of the biggest PR disasters ever.
Well, what the fuck did they expect?
Yes, and see, now what they're doing is that they're making you submit all of this I Love Mario stuff.
Yeah.
To this LetsSuperMario.com website, where I imagine there's going to be a mediator. Because otherwise 4chan's going to have a field day with this shit.
As they should.
As I'm not saying I encourage it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Yeah, to quote Chris Rock, I'm not saying OJ should have done it, but I understand.
But again, this is blatant nostalgia leeching, and to me, it's disgusting. You guys might like it. You guys might want to, write your own Super Mario remix and submit to Nintendo. I don't really give a shit. But it's instead of making games, they're resorting to trying to build PR and resurrect the fan base by saying, "You remember that one time when?"
Yeah.
But here's something I wanna bring up for Nintendo. I remember that one time when the Super Nintendo was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that one time when the Super Nintendo was coming out with a shit ton of games, exclusive games even. So I'm flipping through here in my 1992 Super Nintendo Player's Guide. That's paper medium, you fucks. All right, so when this came out, Nintendo Power kind of did like a PR run, trying to get as much information about the Super Nintendo as possible. They weren't saying, send in your pictures of you in a Mario hat or you making a Mario cake. They're saying, here's the games.
Yes.
Now, from what I counted in this thing, there's about 30 plus games near launch. I'm not going to say on launch because, it takes a little bit of time to get kind of Steam going, though, but very near launch. In 1991, the August issue of Nintendo Power, issue 27, was hyping up Super Nintendo's upcoming games. They hyped up Mario World, they hyped up the F-Zero game, they hyped up The Legends of Zelda 3, which is what they called Link to the Past. Mm-hmm. And they hyped up things like Castlevania 4 and Super Ghouls and Ghosts and quite a lot of other things. And then this 1992 issue, Player's Guide, comes out, and it has about 30-odd some games. Granted, not all of them are great, like Home Alone.
Sure.
Not all of them are great games, though, but they're showing you the fact that they have games. This is the fucking problem. Here in this issue, they're like, we have Super Mario World, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Castlevania 4, Final Fight, UN Squadron, we have Joe and Mac, we have, I'm just going down the list here, ActRaiser, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, we have Final Fantasy 2, SimCity, F-Zero, Super Off-Road, and they kind of shotgunned a lot of stuff. Oh, Pilot Wings too, forgot that one. They shotgunned a lot of information out there, saying it doesn't matter if you're into baseball or if you're into adventure, we got something for you.
Yeah, strength in numbers.
And most of these games, not all of them, not all the games, most of them are Nintendo only.
Yes, that's also important.
Yes.
Like we said, not all of these games were gems necessarily, of course, but
right.
Strength in numbers. You had an option, you had a choice. Mm-hmm. You had an entire array of games that you could have tried and seen which ones you like and which ones you enjoy. Whereas, if and that was a list from 1992.
Yes.
Whereas if we compare the list of games that have been announced during this year's E3 presentation, and it's just a measly 6 or 7 games. Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, the 7 I read off. It's you think that a console would be building momentum, and again,
well, especially a 4-year-old console.
Yes.
That is a horrifying realization I had a couple of days ago when I realized that, holy shit, the Wii U was released back in 2011. So technically we are 4 years into the Wii U's life cycle, and we're only now getting a Star Fox game and a Zelda game, which is still to be released and was not even mentioned during this year's E3. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier in this conversation, the fact that Nintendo is already kind of hinting at their, well, they're not hinting, they're pretty much outright talking about their upcoming console, the NX, has me concerned that even though Nintendo has basically stepped back on the right path with all these announcements like Star Fox, and a game we have forgotten to mention until now is the new Fatal Frame game.
Ooh, yeah.
Which looks promising, and as I said before,
utilizes the hardware.
Yeah, exactly. A horror game where you have to take pictures of ghosts, and you have the Wii tablet. It's like it's like putting two and two together. It makes perfect sense for that game to be on the Wii U.
Yes.
But still, the fact, despite all of these great announcements that honestly have kind of reignited my excitement for Nintendo, I'm concerned that it's just not enough to salvage. Not Nintendo as a company, because Nintendo is doing good with the 3DS, but it's not enough to salvage the Wii U.
Right. And see, this is what the Super Nintendo had that the current generation of Nintendo's home consoles does not have. Nintendo had first-party exclusives and third-party exclusives. Again, they came out of the fucking gate with Mario World, Super Castlevania, which back then was very much a Nintendo exclusive series. Eventually Genesis got a Castlevania game, but for the most part, it was that exact Castlevania game was only for Nintendo. Same thing with Final Fantasy II. Final Fantasy started out on the Nintendo, and it wasn't until after the SNES era and after the Mario RPG that Square Enix or Squaresoft at that time went to PlayStation. So again, this is a game you could only get on the Nintendo. And they came out of the gate also with Pilot Wings and F-Zero, two games that have become very, very popular franchises. But apparently not popular enough for a Wii U release.
No, but there was a Pilot Wings game on the 3DS. So once again, Nintendo is putting much more
attention on the 3DS.
On the 3DS.
Yes, and see, this is what the problem is. Nintendo is like they're throwing up their hands in the air, saying we're not going to do anything with the Wii U. We're going to focus on this NX project, this new console, and the 3DS, because obviously, okay, fine, the 3DS is selling. Obviously, you want to make money. You want to hash out as much stuff on the 3DS as possible. And 3DS, I imagine, is more easy to program. I won't say shovelware games, so we can probably get more content on a 3DS, as you would with Super Nintendo in this day and age.
Yes.
Now, the fact that Nintendo didn't come out of the gates with the Wii U, and we've said this 1,000 fucking times, but we're just gonna say it again because apparently half of you don't listen. If Nintendo did not come out with their best feet forward, if they would have come out with, again, like a Super Mario World and a F-Zero and their own Legend of Zelda game right from the get-go, kind of like Super Nintendo was trying to do, and they also had support from third-party developers creating unique games that you cannot find anywhere else, the Wii U could easily be sitting next to your Xbox/PS4/PC, whatever collective exact same fucking console you want to call these three things, very comfortably.
Yes.
Because you could play Arkham Knight on your PC, Xbox, or PlayStation. You could play the latest Assassin's Creed on those three consoles. But then the games for the Nintendo would be for the Nintendo only, and it would complement, not compete, complement your other console of choice.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about Nintendo, is that it's kind of obvious that Nintendo is out of the race with the big three, which is, of course, the PS4, Xbox One, and the PC, which is fine if you ask me. I don't mind Nintendo
doing its own thing.
Doing its own thing, sort of becoming like a niche console that makes games for their own loyal fan base. But of course, as we've said before, time and time again, they're not making games for their already existing fan base. They have picked up the steam, or rather, they have picked up the pace recently with all these announcements during this year's E3, but again, that alone is, credit where credit is due. That is commendable, and they are doing what we've been asking this entire time, but they need to do more of it. And since the NX is pretty much a reality, one thing that they could do for like everything we've just said about them not doing for the Wii U, they could do this for the next console. They could ensure that within the first year of the release of their next console, the NX, there is going to be a new Mario, a new Zelda, a new Star Fox, a new Metroid, and maybe a new Donkey Kong or something. I'm not saying that there should be they should have like a dozen first-party title games for the first year, but still.
I'm saying instead of putting all these characters in Smash Brothers, give them their own fucking games, but still.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, not within the first year. So within the first year, have like 3 first-party games. Within the second year, have 3 other games, and that way you will be, gradually you will be able to build an entire library of first-party games that you cannot get on any other console.
Max, I don't want to cut you off here, but that's what they're kind of doing. They're trickling in this crap. I wouldn't say 3 and then 3 another year, 3 another year. I would say to put like 7 out the first year and then see where it goes.
Ideally, yes, but in the case of the Wii U, they weren't even releasing like 3 games per year. The first year, if I'm not mistaken, it was just Super Mario 3D Super Mario World or something, and Nintendo Land, and that's it.
True.
So I'm trying to be more realistic here, like one step at a time. Let's move from 2 games to 3 games.
Right,
and
but
see where
I'm saying,
Nintendo-
but I'm saying is they know which IPs that they own are popular, because I mean obviously all the characters are in Smash Brothers, but they need to have an extremely strong, well-supported initial showing so that people will say, okay, I'm not a big fan of Star Fox, I want Mario, or I don't like Mario, I want F-Zero, I don't want F-Zero, I want Zelda. So you can cash in on as much as possible and build that installation base to give other developers confidence that if they develop games or even port games over to your console, then there will be people to play them and buy them, so it will get support.
Yes. And speaking of other developers and, Nintendo's potential future plans, we've said this during last month's Patreon meet and greet, which was subsequently released on YouTube as a best of. But what Nintendo could do in the future in order to entice more third-party developers to invest time and money into their console is that they could potentially team up with a company like Capcom or Konami, companies that they've had ties in the past and who are currently in somewhat of a they're kind of in a bind finances wise right now. Mm-hmm. And they could say, hey, Konami, you guys have decided to focus on mobile games, understandable, but you still have, say, the Castlevania franchise, or you have the Silent Hill franchise. So how about the two of us reach a mutually beneficial agreement where we get access, or where we get the license to those franchises, and they become Nintendo exclusives? This would be a very, very profitable decision for Nintendo if they do this for their future console, because all of a sudden, hey, it's a new generation for Nintendo, and look at how many games we have. Not just first-party games, but also third-party games like Castlevania, or perhaps even something like Ninja Gaiden, games that have historically, or at least in the past, were associated with Nintendo, but later became multi-platform and whatnot. And if Nintendo does that, they could spend this massive marketing campaign about how Nintendo is, like I said in the beginning of this, well, I said this mockingly, but still, that Nintendo is like the Phoenix, we have risen from the ashes, and we're returning to our former glory with a new Ninja Gaiden, and a new Castlevania game, and a new Contra game, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. So I'm looking at the Mighty Number 9 and the Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Kickstarter pages, and I'm looking at their initial goals to create the games. Right, the creator of Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, is doing Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and his initial goal was $500,000.
Yes.
Mighty Number 9, their initial goal from the creator of the original Mega Man was $900,000. Okay, so at any point did any of these people approach Nintendo and say, "Hey, listen,"
or the other way around, did Nintendo approach them
and say, "Hey, listen, we'll fund this entire thing as long as it's exclusive"?
Yes.
Now, obviously, I know that $900,000 development will probably make more than this money back on multiple consoles. That's just the environment that we're in right now, where to get the most money, you develop for all the consoles you can. But again, if Nintendo would at least either make an effort to reach out to some of these even previously established game developers and say, "Hey, listen, here's $1 million, make us something cool."
Yeah.
I mean, again, they have the money because of the 3DS and the handheld sales, and they're not going anywhere in Japan. But to imagine if Mighty Number 9 and Bloodstained accompanied the latest Star Fox game and the latest Mario game, the latest F-Zero game, the latest Metroid game, all at the opening release of the next Nintendo console, the NX. what would fucking happen?
That would be huge.
Exactly, it would be huge. People would be like, "Oh my god, fuck, I'm there."
Yeah.
Because again, Nintendo would be returning to form. Going back to the Super Nintendo thing, really briefly, they came out the gates swinging. And that's what helped them win the console generation. I mean, obviously, technology at the time had something to do with it because they were showing off their pretty graphics, though, but it was still about having great games.
Yes.
So,
The more the better.
yes.
But then again, here we are talking about stuff that can potentially salvage Nintendo, but let's be realistic here, my friend. They have yet to figure out how YouTube and free marketing can benefit their company. and we're expecting them to understand how... Well, yeah, we're expecting a video game hardware/software company to understand the benefit of having more product on the market and letting people play them. Jesus fucking Christ. People,
Yes.
can you just... They're not infallible. They're just another video game company.
Yes.
And all of them... I'm not... to quote Full Metal Jacket, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, to me, you're all equally worthless.
Yes.
I have no allegiance to either Sony or Microsoft, but the fact is, I want to see Nintendo succeed.
Yes.
I really do, because even though I'm not as brainwashed as some other people to proclaim that Nintendo has quote-unquote goodwill, but, they're not the worst out there, and they have the potential to succeed if they finally take their heads out of their asses and start making more first-party as well as third-party games. They have stepped on the right path, but I'm afraid it will take a little bit more than just a new Star Fox or a Xenoblade or a Fatal Frame game to return Nintendo to its former glory.
Yes, and coming from a previous Nintendo fanboy, I mean, you should have seen me in grade school. Holy shit. I have the same fond memories most people do about Nintendo, whether it's, from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, or even present. They have played a huge part in my life, but they are not gods. They make mistakes. They make some stupid decisions. Blatantly, they make some stupid-ass decisions. And here's the thing that we want to stress with everybody still listening to us, because I don't know who the fuck is still downvoting us or whatever, but if you stuck with us this long, then you might be able to digest what I'm going to say next. If you love something, if you hold something to very high regards, those are the things you need to be the most skeptical about.
Yes.
Those are the things you need to ask a lot of questions about. Those are the things you cannot go blindly down a road for. So, that's pretty much it. I mean, granted, Nintendo did some decent stuff. Everybody's like, oh, the winds at Nintendo have changed, but I kind of feel a breeze.
Yeah.
But
a light breeze at best.
yeah, I mean, granted, since Nintendo basically kind of caved in for pressure to get Star Fox up and out as soon as possible, I really hope that they're going to start taking some of this customer feedback a little bit more seriously, and people will be like, hey, where's this, where's that?
Hopefully.
But you can hope in one hand and shit in the other, right?
Yes, but until Nintendo finally returns to its former glory, they can be sure that these two jaded assholes will always be there to chide and malign them whenever they fuck up.
Yep.
And here comes the new inrush of downvotes.